Nearly three-quarters of the Americans rate the current state of the economy as fair or poor. And can you blame them? A record number of them are living off their credit cards and can't pay their balances. 9.1% of credit card balances are now delinquent. Compare that to only 7.2% last year.
That delinquency rate is the highest in over a decade.
Wow.
But if you asked elitist economists, everything is just fine. They even think it's their job to convince you of that. Posting in part this. This is Mark Zandi. This is among the best performing economies in my 35 plus years as an economist. Economic growth is rip-roaring. What he says an NYU professor, and the dude who runs, he's the chief AI scientist at Meta. Quote, the U.S. economy is doing extremely well, yet half of the electorate is being told the opposite and believes the country is being destroyed.
Here now to break down the divide between the elites and the everyday Americans, Ramsey Solutions founder and CEO, the one, the only, Dave Ramsey himself. Dave, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sean.
Can you make sense of this for us? You have these elites who probably do fairly well financially, telling the rest of America the economy is great. We are crushing it. You should be crushing it. Don't listen to the fake news. Don't listen to your wallets. Things are really great. And just to reiterate these Fox News polls, only 29% in the Fox News poll say that the economy is excellent or good. 70% say it's fair or poor. What's going on here, Dave?
You know, the sad thing is that economics and psychology are interwoven in a way that we forget sometimes. If you believe things are great, you do this thing called investing. If you believe things are bad, then you pull back and you stockpile and you hoard. And so behavior comes out of these beliefs. And so a lack of hope or a hope drives the economy, believe it or not. And so when these guys are saying these things, I guess they're trying to promote something that they wish was happening. But I spend 15 hours a week talking to Americans that call into our show. They don't think the economy is roaring. They don't think it's wonderful. They are worried about $7 eggs, $5 gas, 7% interest rates, and house prices that are outpacing the rate of wage increases. So they are worried. They don't think we're in a depression. They don't even think we're in a recession. They just think it kind of smells out there.
Yep. What bothered me, Dave, was when you have the chief AI scientist at Meta talking about, you know, people are being told as if the American people who are upset about a cost of living crisis, that they've been brainwashed. It bothers me because if he's the chief of AI, well, he's gonna make sure that they do get brainwashed with what the elites want them to believe. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, if you're going to run the social media engine and you want to run it that way, I guess that's your choice if you own it.
Right.
But, you know, and if you're in the media, we in the media sometimes bark at people rather than listening to them. And the beauty of how we started our career in talk radio and now is, you know, YouTube and podcast is we're having them call us and tell us. So I don't get the option of telling them what to believe. I can help them interpret what they're feeling, and I can give them some options for to control the controllables that they can do, but we don't get to tell people how to think.
So, Dave, you sat down with President Trump recently. It's going to come out tomorrow on the Ramsey app, and the day after that, Wednesday, on I think your YouTube channel and on your podcast. Tell us about the interview. This is a fascinating. You and Donald Trump talking about the economy and finances. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we reached out to Vice President Harris's camp and President Donald Trump's camp and told them we'd love to sit down and talk about ideas, just have a conversation, because I love to have a good argument, but I prefer to argue about something that matters, and that's ideas as far as I'm concerned. So not what have you done and not what's the other side done, but what are you actually going to do? And so I was in Trump Tower last Thursday afternoon, and we got to spend a considerable amount of time with the president, and it was very interesting. I had not personally spent a lot of time with him like maybe you guys have, and so the whole tone of the thing was fun. And to see his grasp on things about the economy and so forth was interesting.
What did you get, really quickly, Dave, did you get pushback from some of your audience about you sitting down with President Trump? It seemed as if you did, based on just what you
Dagan,
said.
if I turn on a microphone, I get pushed back. My job is to piss off half of America half the time, and I'm good at it. It's okay. I'm fine with that. I'll get pushed back from the rest of them if I sit down with Vice President Harris, and I would sit down with her if I had the honor to do so. We haven't heard back from her camp yet. It's under review, in quotes, but it's fine. If you can't sit down and talk about ideas in America today, something's broken, and it's okay if you don't want to listen to the Dave Ramsey Show anymore. The Ramsey Show, I can handle it. We got a few million others. It's okay.
You tell people what they don't want to hear, Dave. We appreciate you being with us. We love hearing what you have to say. Dave Ramsey, thanks for being here.